Hey everybody, you are looking at what they call the Pyramid of Djedefre, but by the end of this video, I think you will be convinced that this is an ancient astronomical observatory of what some call the lost civilization that came to Giza, and whatever name you want to put on that, that is fine with me. Now, these were not pyramids. These were observatories. People have theorized that there was a top put on this, but I think these are all open for a reason, and they're all perfectly aligned for a reason to the cardinal points. They were observatories, and at the end I'm going to show you something that I'm still basically shaking my head in disbelief that I found. But I'm just going to read a little bit about the Pyramid of Djedefre, and I'm going to show you that all of these similar temples that were built exactly the same, well, they've been pretty much tried to be erased or just forgotten about or purposely ignored for a reason, because these are ancient observatories that have no connection to the dynastic Egyptians or present-day tourism. Now, this is Giza Research, and I will leave the link below, and I've featured this work before. I think she does good work. I don't agree with her on everything, just as every other ancient researcher, but I respect her work a lot. And it goes on to say this, and she just talks about a visit to Abu Ruwash, and boy, this really tells a story here. It just talks about an announcement by the Egyptologist. It says, "I had a hunch that behind this controversial news lay some intriguing facts. So I made my way to the site without delay. The pyramid that all the fuss was about," and this was obviously written a little while ago, "the pyramid that was all the fuss was about 8 kilometers as the crow flies north of the Great Pyramids, on the hill of Abu Ruwash. For a long time, and for various reasons, the area had been out of bounds to the general public. For one thing, excavations are still going on there, and for another, it's a military area with very restricted access. I had to spend quite a while in the sumptuous office of the Director of Security for the zone to obtain a special pass. Then we drove for a good 10 minutes through the dust, taking some sharp bends around the base of the plateau where the pyramid is, which we couldn't see at all. I couldn't help thinking of what it said about the site in the old guidebooks, one of the older archaeological sites that is rarely visited because there is really not very much to see. The point was emphasized that there were only a few uninteresting ruins left. And I remembered the first time I went to the site 20 years ago, when the area was buried under very off-putting heaps of domestic trash." Now let's go on reading here. It says, "But this time I could clearly see on the right the profile of the plateau, now cleaned up, as we went around the last bend and started up the rising slope. Soon we were at the top, and the jeep stopped, and as I got out I could feel a welcome hilltop breeze that cooled us off a little in spite of the 40-degree heat. The magnificent view took my breath away. Just opposite, on the far side of the valley, I could see the pyramids of Khafre, its big sister Cheops, and Mykonos." Now, with that line right there, that was the key to what I'm going to show you at the end of this video. It says, "Right away I noticed something interesting. Maybe where I was standing was a continuation of the Giza Plateau in spite of the break of the valley. Maybe the plateau did not start where the better-known pyramids are, as is generally supposed. In any case, I was at the northernmost point of what Egyptologists call the Memphis Complex." Now, the attribution to Djedefre and Egyptology's theory that he actually built this original complex. She says this, My first thought in response to the press announcement was, why call this pyramid the fourth? Fourth in relation to what? I suppose it referred to the 3 Giza pyramids, but it could have nothing to do with their official dating. And then since Mykerinos was the nephew of Djedefre, his pyramid, which came after that of his uncle, ought to be labeled the fourth. And in fact, the site of Djedefre's pyramid on its headland makes it the most northerly point of the whole plateau, so it would make more sense to call it the first. So that's just an interesting point she brings up. And it goes on to say this: my second thought was about the reaction from the Egyptologists. The official communique definitely referred to the pyramid as vanished or even lost in other news reports, but this pyramid has always been known. Weiss and Peering discovered the site in 1830. We have the drawings done by Lepsius in 1842 and 1843, the great Flinders Petrie, and others documented the site all the way for the following decades. It says in the 1960s, new excavations were carried out by Marigellino and Rinaldi. Then for the last 12 years, a Franco-Swiss team with Michael Vallagia of Geneva University have been working there flat out with the help of Michael Baud from the Louvre and Jan Tristant, the IFAO, and I think that's that French website I used, prehistory specialist. So this pyramid is far from being lost. On the contrary, it has been studied in detail for many long years, far from the public eye. But we are getting used to the game of hide and seek with the misleading statements issued by the Directorate of the Egyptian Antiquities. When I saw the site for myself, I realized why it had been kept out of the limelight for all this time. It contains some fascinating and very unusual features. Now it's perfectly obvious to me why they called Djedefre's pyramid the Lost Pyramid, because they wanted, when they finally uncovered the trash and let archaeologists in there because of the pressure, they want to say, oh, this pyramid here, it's a lost pyramid of Abu Ro. No. There are other lost ancient temples up here. No hieroglyphics, nothing Egyptian. This is the real lost pyramid right here, and the other one I pointed out. Have they covered this up? Well, picture tells 1,000 words. Now, why did they attribute this to Djedefre? Well, I guess there was a broken bust of him up here. That was clearly Djedefre, and I think this is a boat pit, what you're looking at here, and he buried a small funerary boat. That's symbolic of a journey in the afterlife. Celestial Nile, Milky Way. But, so he did obviously do some building up here. So that's, he tried to attach his legacy to one of these original temples. And I think they were just called sun temples, and that's why there's some confusion about later pharaohs and their sun temples, because these names, old names, new names, get confused. But there's a hint, I think, of the old name in some of the new names, because I think this is called the firmament of Djedefre. So I just wanted to point that out. And now it says this, and it talks a little bit about the name here. And it says, now I was on the spot, and I had a clear thought that if this pyramid had been so high, it was because of the height of the headland it was built on. It was undoubtedly higher overall than that of Cheops' opposite pyramid. The Abu Rawash headland was perhaps 7 meters higher than the Giza plateau, and this is the highest point of this fabulous landscape. The ancient writers gave the Djedefre pyramid the name, and it's just HR, and that means the highest pyramid temple complex, the highest temple. And this reference here, I think this comes or originates from a very ancient time. Let me just read a little bit further here. She says here, it would be interesting to understand why some people think that the site overall was dedicated to Horus Khenti Khem, and just the way that is worded, this sounds like it originated from pre-dynastic times, just the way that's worded, and just how it is associated with the ancient text, and just looking into the ancient text and where those words come from, it seems to develop from the very earliest writings of ancient Egypt. Now, Horus Kenti-Kem, this name here, and where this originates from the most ancient Egyptian religious text, and Kem, the first of Kem, and of course the ancient name for what we call Egypt today is Kemet. And then she says, just opposite the pyramid complex is the ancient site of Heliopolis, the home city of sun worship par excellence. And it says it cannot be just a coincidence. And this is most interesting, especially if you follow Danny Wilton's channel. It says they consider Kem and Min became this word here, Khnum, the name of the prime creator. Others point out that Min, with his erect phallus, was another representation of Orion. And of course, the phallus of Orion is the Orion Nebula. It says the town of Kem is known from the text of the Old Kingdom, and the Horus of Kem is mentioned in a panel of a tomb south of Saqqara. And yes, I will turn off my phone. But this is very ancient, originating from maybe pre-dynastic times, when it was said the sons of Horus. John Anthony West talks about that. That is the group of gods that built these ancient monuments, the very first monuments. The translation of that name is the sons of Horus, and that is directly connected to this name. Now here is Robert Temple's Egyptian Dawn website, and I think this is his wife Olivia here. Yeah. It says Olivia Temple sitting at the top of the vast open shaft at Abu Ruwash, 6 miles north of Giza on the hill. The shaft points due north and was, in my opinion, an astronomical observation shaft for the stars crossing the meridian. It says, without such a shaft, the Egyptians could not achieve sufficient accuracy with their calendar to be certain of the correct dates of all their religious festivals, and that really is up for speculation. But the fact that he calls it an observation shaft, I am really agreeing with that. And that pyramid that the town encroached upon, why was that kind of built up on a hill, kind of at a slant, facing east perfectly? And it has a slanting shaft coming down. Well, obviously the rising sun on the spring equinox would have created a pretty amazing visual effect in that one pyramid at Abu Ruwash. That's why some of them are orientated to the east. And that's just one of the reasons, I believe, that spring equinox sunrise and how it would show down that shaft, and especially at a certain time of the day. But it goes on to say this here. A twin of this shaft exists also south of Giza, at a place called Zayat El Aryan, but it is inside a military base and no archaeologists are allowed to visit it. Now, I'm not going to do much more reading, but she visits this mysterious stairway that I talk about, and I think they attribute this to the Romans. Come on, people. The Romans built that, really? But this, I will leave the link to this, but this is a mystery. And, man, how they carved these massive shafts into the ground, and this matches perfectly the one that was covered up at El Zarian. And remember, a while ago, and she said 20 years before she wrote this article, this place was totally covered in trash, and all these pyramids look the same. This is the unfinished pyramid, they call, of Djedefre. And this is the pyramid of Zayat El Aryan, before the military base took it away and covered it up. All of these places look the same. And here is the pyramid I showed you yesterday. They said it was 12 courses high, and this matches all the other pyramids. The pyramid up here at Abu Ruwash, you see it's about a dozen courses high. All of these pyramids are the same. They're not unfinished pyramids, as the Egyptologists call it. These are ancient observatories. There were never pyramids built on top of these. These are very ancient. And these are why, most likely, they don't want these seen by the public. These are all the same. Now, there are many theories on Djedefre's pyramid here. Some people say this is an unfinished pyramid. Some people say this is a collapsed or destroyed pyramid. Egyptologists say this is a pyramid by the 4th dynasty Djedefre. And it's one thing to build a ramp and haul stones up a ramp, as Egyptologists say, but this is up on top of a large hill. So that kind of throws the Egyptologist ramp theory, all the pieces. I don't think there was ever a pyramid up here. Djedefre built a few things up here, some small pyramid complexes, and you can kind of see the ruins of it. I think it's back here. But these are ancient solar observatories built in perfect spots for observing. Now, I say these are solar observatories, but I'm positive they were observing the stars too, just like whoever handed down the Mayans their knowledge. Really, a civilization we have yet to put our finger on. But whoever set up camp here at Abu Ruwash, and I'm beginning to think this is a very, very ancient place. But these pyramids were certainly observing the stars, and Robert Temple calls it a twin of the pyramid down here that was covered up by trash in the military zone, and this picture still freaks me out. And what if there was water in here and it reflected the stars? What if astronomy was their whole religion? But still, why the massive blocks? Now, the thing about this Abu Ruwash area, I'm beginning to see things. There are other things that have been taken out here. I've found other things, but I'm just not going to go into it today. But this could be a very, very original place where some people settled a long, long time ago. Set up shop, built these astronomical observatories. And this is, I'm assuming, this could be right around a time of great cataclysm. If you follow Randall Carlson, you know the Earth was hit by something about 12,800 or so years ago, and also 11,600 years ago. Some of the worst disasters the Earth has experienced in the last million years or so. Were they doing all this observing to realign themselves? That's a question, I guess, that needs to be asked. Or also, was their religion, was it basically their religion and their spirituality so based in the stars that their temple complexes were directly related to the heavens? Well, that's also an important thing to be asked. But these were observatories. They are very ancient. They're connected to the Great Pyramid. And I'm going to show you that right now. Now, this is where it gets good. And I mean really good. This is what they call the layer pyramid. They say this is an unfinished pyramid down at Zayat El Aryan, very near the military base where that Hollywood movie was made, at that massive shaft cut into the earth. It's what they say is the unfinished pyramid, the northern pyramid of Zayat El Aryan. Well, this is the southern, they say is unfinished, but these are very, very ancient, and here just purposely forgotten about, and obviously in the middle of some area that people don't want you in. But that is one more pyramid. So actually we're looking at 3 pyramids today. Now here you see northern shaft, the pyramid just to the north here, eastern shaft. These very ancient observatories, one would have a north shaft, one would have an east shaft nearby for observational purposes. But this is where it gets good. Now, as I was zooming out, I just thought I would just look up to the north here. And as I did, and I looked up towards Abu Ruwash, the light clicked in my head. I knew what I had to do. And let me show you something. Now, I took a line from this layer pyramid down here that looks like it's just kind of forgotten about in Zayat al-Aryan, and I drew a line to the similar pyramids up at Abu Rawash, and this is, see, we have Djedefre's, we have the Lost Pyramid that I featured yesterday, we have that strange one kind of slanted into that hillside that I showed you a few days ago. Well, one of the things I find interesting, it's 1,300 meters between this pyramid, the one that's the city's just encroaching on that I showed you a few days ago, and the one I showed you yesterday, 1,300 meters. From this pyramid up to Djedefre's, it is 1,300 meters. So, perfect distance between these three pyramids. And this line coming up from that pyramid down at Zayat al-Aryan, when you place it right on top of these three pyramids at Abu Rawash, and you start the line down at Zayat al-Aryan, those three lines go right over the left side of each pyramid at Giza. I mean, that's not exact, but holy once again, from the layer pyramid down here at Zayat al-Aryan, that is identical to the pyramid of Djedefre and the other lost pyramids at Abu Rawash. It's identical to the unfinished pyramid of Djedefre and a few others that I have found that I will be showing you in the near future. Are all these pre-pyramid complexes connected to the original monuments at Giza? Well, the line from that goes right over the pyramids of Giza, and it goes up to Abu Rawash, and these pyramids are equal distance apart. That connects these in a way that you have never seen before. That's why you subscribe to me. Hope you thought that was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.